Another big topic that uses mathematics in the realm of Max has to do with tuning and temperament, notes of scales and pitches and frequency ratios and all these kinds of issues. So I'm gonna take you on a little path through these ideas. So the first thing is transposition. So let's say we've got a simple song like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So you can sing that song in any key. If it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in a low key, or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, a higher key, doesn't matter. Different singers have different ranges, different people are comfortable singing in different keys, so it's the same song even if you move all of the notes by the same amount. So you can scale all the frequencies of a melody, and if you scale them all by the same amount, then it's the same melody but just in another key. So you might want to ask, well, how many possible keys are there? So on a piano, there are 12 possible keys, C, C sharp, D, etc. But we don't have to limit ourselves to the notes of the piano, so we can have C and a half, or C and a fifth, or C 0.000000001. So how many possible keys are there? Well, technically there are infinitely many. There are uncountably infinitely many keys, because the note that you set it to could be any real number. In practice, however, humans can't really hear the difference between two pitches that are 0.0000001 apart from each other. So there's really maybe only 2 or 3 cents. There's a width of keys that are all pretty much exactly the same. So in practice, there are maybe thousands of keys within the range of human hearing. So I'm going to make a collection that I'm going to call major scale, and I'm going to set it to save data with a patcher. And what I'm going to put in it is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So the first note is going to be 0 steps up, because that's going to be where we start. The second note is going to be 2 steps up. We're using the notes of the piano now. The 4, 5, 7, 9, and whoops, what happened? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th step is 9 half steps above where the starting point. The 7th step is 11 half steps above, and then when we get to the 8th step, we're 12 steps above. So this is what you call a 7-note scale, septatonic, if you want to get technical about it, because within an octave there are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, 7 different notes, and then the 8th one, you're back where you started at do. And that, by the way, is why an octave has the 8 in it, because in Western music and a lot of other traditions, you use 7 notes to a scale, 7-note scale, so that the 8th note is the octave. So this should be called like power of 2 tiv, but instead it's called octave. Okay, so here's our major scale, and we're going to save that with a thing, and we're just going to test it. We're going to put in our number box. So first, second, third. So that seems good. So now here's this idea that we're going to have a base key that we're going to start our scale with. So I'm going to use this number box, and I'm going to set its display format to MIDI, so that it's giving us letter note names. Here, I'll also make it larger. We can set its font size to something big. Okay, so this is a D in the 6th octave. Here's F in the 3rd octave, and so on. So it's just a number box. It just outputs an integer like any other number box. But it's just naming that integer using a letter note name. So this is going to be our key, our base note. And this is going to be what I'm going to call the scale degree, meaning which note of the scale. And all we're going to have to do is add them together. Okay, so that's one way to think about transposition, is it's just an additive offset. So these together are going to give us a MIDI note. So here's the first scale degree. Again, let's set it to C4. And our first scale degree is a 72, our second scale degree 74, etc. We're climbing up, in this case, the C major scale. So now we'll take that, and we'll zoom in so you can see a little better. We'll use an M to F, as we just learned about. That's going to convert this to a frequency. We'll use a floating number box so that we're not accidentally rounding our pitches to the nearest hertz, and then we'll just use let's just use another sine wave like we were using before, cycle tilde. And we'll put a gain in here so we can hear it, and we'll make it a horizontal gain slider, and we'll connect it to the audio output. And now we can play our scales using this simple patch. So we'll turn this up. So here's our 1. Turn audio on. And we have another patch open. So let's close that. We don't really need that out of tune drone. Let's try again. So here's 1. Okay, so I can climb up the scale, and I can play the same scale 1 step down. Okay, so this idea of transposition. So the scale doesn't care what note we start on. We could start on a really low note. Notice, by the way, that as I change this, I don't have a TBI here. So this plus still has an output, a new note, even though I tried to change the key. So if I say 1. Okay, so first idea, transposition. So we've got a scale, and we've done it in a key-independent way. We didn't say the first note is C, the second note is D. We said the first note is 0 more than whatever the key is, and that let us transpose our scale to whatever key we want. So now that we've got our scale, or multiple potential scales, able to be stored in the collection object, let's make a little patch that will play the scales for us automatically. So instead of me doing it live with keyboards, I'm just going to press 1 button, and it's just going to go up the scale, and we'll get to hear all the notes of the scale. And then we'll use that to compare some very